Hello, it's me, AnaLisa, with my spiritual friend. And I'm back. My husband survived his surgery. I wasn't ready to do readings quite yet. I'm hoping some more people join us. This is not a live reading. This is sort of more just spiritual discussion. Hello, Danny and Alessandra. I know a lot of y'all are empaths and light workers. Hi. And I know a lot of you are on your own journeys to ascension. Hello, everybody. Yay, you're joining. I kind of want to talk about what's been going on energetically and some observations. As all of you know, I'm a reverend in the Spiritualist Church of New York City, and I consider myself a spiritual teacher and leader. And as a spiritual teacher and leader, I couldn't sit back. Yeah, I've been picking up on a lot, and that's what I'm going to kind of address today. So I couldn't sit back and not address the Black Lives Matter movement. Just to put it up front, I am all about it. And if you say anything like all lives matter here, I will be blocking you completely from my channel because I don't need that energy here. So what I wanted to talk about is because a lot of you are empaths and light workers, and this is really, I want to address more about my white subs because I want to talk about how we become allies, how we become aware of how to be anti-racist. I know that personally, I always thought I'm not a racist person. And you think of and you're taught as a society, and I'm going to discuss systematic racism and all of that stuff, but we were taught as a society, and I want to look at it from a spiritual standpoint because we see everybody talking about it from a cultural standpoint. And I sort of want to look at it as what does it mean for us as light workers? Because I know a lot of times, just like me, we think and I used to say this, and so on a spiritual level, when I do readings, I see you as a soul. I don't see all the other mess that goes with it. It just doesn't happen when I do readings. And that's one of the reasons I love this platform is I don't know what the color of your skin is. I don't know what your house looks like. I don't know what your financial status looks like. I get all the information spiritually. And it's such a different space. But the reality is, as light workers, we are here as human beings experiencing this human, very real, solid experience. And I know the whole manifestation thing where we think, this isn't reality. We create our own world. And that's true, blah, but we are born into, and I want to stop it. We are working towards ascension, and which is sort of like growing spiritually and vibrationally and moving away from this very ego-based world into a more spiritually connected world. And with gifts that come along with it, like being psychic and intuitive and all the same things, but claircognizance, clairvoyance, all of those cool little tricks and things that come with it. And a big part I talk about of ascension is releasing old belief systems. And I see that. And I talk about that in my readings with you guys, where I say, oh, I see this area and this block here, and that came from this section of your life. And you have to look at it differently and sort of like learn to release it and heal and all of that stuff. And an empath is somebody who, and I want to say this too, is a lot of you, so releasing things. So a part of releasing things, especially as white light workers, we don't realize how much our society, or how much a part of our society we are, and what systematic racism is, and how we contribute to it, and our part in it being that, and that we need to also recognize how we're a player in it and fix that and heal it so that we aren't continuing to participate. So that, we all often think in the spiritual community, we're all interconnected. We're all one. And it's true. We all are interconnected and we all are one. But we have this huge part of this one that is being oppressed and kept down and held back. And we can't fully say that we're ascending or that we're a whole and it's all joyful and love and light if we're ignoring this healing that has to happen in order to raise that other part of us up and celebrate with them and let all be together as one. Thank you, Lisa. So the definition of systematic racism, because when we think of racism or white people, or I thought of it as, white supremacists, using the N-word, racial epithets, everything outwardly, obviously discriminating. But what the real issue is systematic racism, which is also known as, I took this straight from Wikipedia. So if you want it, that's where it's at. It's also known as institutional racism, and it is expressed in the practice of social and political institutions. It is reflected in regarding wealth, income, criminal justice, employment, housing, healthcare, politics, education, and other things, and among other factors. So we look at racism as this, and then we all white people unwittingly participate, thinking that we have nothing to do with it because I'm not wearing a hood, I'm not marching with the KKK, I don't have any swastikas, and it's in all kinds of ways. It's the ways that we fund education through property taxes, and so areas that have lower property taxes and lower income value and lower property value are automatically getting funded less. There's all different ways that it happens, and I am sorry to admit that I had no clue. I had the luxury of not really having to pay attention to what Jim Crow laws were and the civil rights, everything about the civil rights movement, because it didn't really affect me. I always hold my stone. It sort of gives me comfort. Sorry. It's okay if you don't agree with it. I may be wrong. I'm saying, and I'm okay with being corrected because I'm learning. So I appreciate that. I mean, participating in the fact that it didn't click. I wasn't aware of all the facets of it. I also didn't really pay attention to politics enough and what all the laws were that were being passed. I had no clue about what ALEC is. These are all things that you should look up, by the way, if you don't know. Hi, my sister's keeper. Thank you for supporting. But yeah, I do sort of think some of it is you don't realize and you don't know and you aren't forced to pay attention because it's not happening to you or people that look like you, and you have to admit that's part of it. So I'm speaking in general terms. I am not the end all be all of all of this. I am just learning. So what I'm going to do is connect links on here. A friend of mine, a dear friend of mine, founded a organization called The Greater Us. And it is an amazing organization that helps to fight discrimination. And I am not giving a good definition of it, I know that, but I'm going to include the link here. She has a whole bunch of resources that she's listed for people who want to learn more about anti-racism and becoming a better ally. She is actually hosting a workshop in a couple of weeks online to help open a space to learn more, like what do you do now? I am also I actually have the website. I just posted the page. It's not as pretty as I want it to be. I'm not a website designer, so I've included a page on my website because something I've noticed, I'm getting a little jumped around because I want to go back about Ascension and our part in it. But I noticed that Hay House, which is a publisher, and they publish a lot of new age and spiritual material. I sort of noticed the other day that most of the people that they put out there are white. So I thought, well, that's kind of crap. So I started reaching out to friends and practitioners that I know that are people of color. And I asked them to I asked for permission to have a page posted for them, and they recommended some other people. So I have a small list going of people of color on my page and their businesses to help support them and uplift them, because I think that they don't get enough acknowledgement, and I want to put them out there and support them, just like other people are putting Black-owned restaurants and businesses that we need to support and financially give to. So that's going to be linked also. It's on my website. I'll link the page to for that. Oh, I know you weren't attacking me at all. I totally knew it. And I am open to be corrected. I am open to um, observations, because it's not my experience. And if I'm not open to learning and listening, then there's no way we can make changes. So I appreciate you saying that, Baseman. And I'm so grateful you guys are here and supporting. Another big part of this is that I want to grow, and I see where I need to grow as a spiritual being, and so I wanna provide space and for people to have open conversation and understand that we don't have to be right all the time, but you have to be open to being corrected and moved into a space. So my hugest thing that I noticed was, I'm like, okay, well, we talk about ascension and this 5D earth, right? Like that we're all going to move into this beautiful space where we're all interconnected and life is all just beautiful. And I see a lot of spiritual people only posting love and light. And like they might put a Black Lives Matter thing on, or I blacked out for Tuesday kind of thing, but they're not addressing it. And they're not talking about, well, what do we do with this now? And a lot of the spiritual people out there that are especially very well known and making a lot of money are white. And so what do we do? Well, I've started reading. You cannot grow and ascend in a spiritual place if you aren't willing to look at the darker parts of us and the parts that are not healthy and that are dysfunctional. And my friend, Lena, who founded Lena Akhtar, who founded The Greater Us, said, you got to think of it like a dysfunctional family, and everybody participates in it, and you have to heal. Like it's like sort of this belief system that occurs, and it sort of like keeps forming and morphing to continue the unhealthiness of it. And so we have to pull it out and force it out. And I was thinking that, it's like alcoholism. If you don't admit there's a problem, you can't make a change. So there's a problem. There's a problem even in the spiritual community. We don't talk enough about the disparities, even in the spiritual community. So Neely Fuller Jr., a lot of his material is on YouTube. I'll look him up and I'll link him on here. So I'm totally about that. So the first book I felt pulled to read was White Fragility. And I still have a little bit left to finish, but it is mind-opening. And it is, and then I watched last night and finished it this morning, was, if you can watch this, 13th on Netflix. It's crazy to me that I grew up in this whole era. I was born in 1978. First of all, the 13th Amendment it's crazy to me the way it has been made. You can't ignore it if you see this. You cannot ignore the connections. Once you know and you are awake, you cannot go back to sleep. This is as in being awake as to the way the world is spiritually speaking and the way that things are pushed and moved around. So I'm asking you as spiritual beings, if you want to grow, and I'm telling you, is if you want to grow and be ascended, which you're never going to hit a pinnacle point. There's just never a point that you stop growing and learning. It just doesn't happen. But if you want to grow and raise your vibration, you have to look at this part of it, because we are here for the human experience. We are here. It's not just about like, how do I get to heaven? It's how do I function here, and how do I help heal here, and how do I lift my fellow beings up? I'll include all of those. Some of these actually, I'm going to include all of these, by the way. But I just think it's really important for you not to sit around going around love and light. And the other thing that I find interesting is as empaths, we often go, okay, I can feel a lot of the energies that are going on. You guys all know I'm an empath. The minute I touch on your words, I'm like, oh, you have a headache, you have this, you have that. I can feel physically. It was overwhelming, the sadness, the heartache, the low feeling I felt, and I knew that this was a collective energy. And then I would hear people say, well, when is this all going to be over? When are we going to fix it? When is it going to be done? And I see people reading on that. Hurry up, let's not feel it, let's not deal with it, let's just, when's all the ugly going to be gone? Let's fix the pretty and be back to goodness. That is not spiritual. And so I'm asking you, if you are an empath, especially a white person, to sit and feel this energy. Sit in it, because what I'm telling you is going to happen is that you are going to feel that misery. And when you are uncomfortable and when you really can't stand it, that's when you are forced to change. That's when change occurs. And that's when you decide to stand up and say, I'm going to lend my voice to this. I'm going to start listening. I'm going to lend my voice to open the doors when people won't listen. And I'm going to listen to those that have lived it, listen to those that know it, listen to those that have solutions, because clearly we haven't found any solutions yet. All we've done is tried to tie it up and fix it and move it into something else, and change it and call it something else. And if I'm telling you, if you watch these, you're like, oh my God. And it isn't just Republicans, because the Democrats did it too. And the chaos does affect more than others. And that's sort of what you learn when you start to read. And I'm also encouraging you to not just watch one video, not just read one book and be like, okay, it's wrapped up pretty, I totally get it. It's so much more than that. And if we get more perspective, so I'm learning to read, I'm learning to talk. What I really, really want to do on here is, I'm not learning to read, but I'm learning from reading, is I'd like to have my friend come on here and sort of, I want to figure out how to do a Zoom conference with her, and have her come on and talk more from a spiritual aspect. Sorry, I was just reading some comments, and Yasmin said she feels like she's living in a bubble. A lot of times what we do as a spiritual community is we do live in a bubble, and we go, the world's not happening around us. It's all just, we're all ascending, and we think that this ascension occurs in just some magical, swift thing, but ascension occurs when we move the old stuff out. So I'm encouraging you, and I'm going to include the links again. It's www.thegreaterus.com. And if you click on about, there's workshops, there's a resource page. Again, I'm going to link it to the information below. I just really wanted to make sure I addressed this, that I said that it is understood that there's a problem, and we, even in the spiritual community, need to address it instead of just love and lightning everything and calling what it is. We need to be comfortable with calling people out, and the spiritual community for not celebrating and supporting more of a diverse community of practitioners that are out there and that are amazing. Does anybody, Basement, do you want to comment? Do you think I should address something else? My sister's keeper, if you're still here. I just, if you're awake and you're an awake person, say you're spiritual and you connect with all, just stop saying love and light to everything, and stop saying that you only see a soul, because you are in the human experience. Thank you. My biggest fear, I tell you, I've never gotten on one of these and thought, my mouth is dry, I'm so worried about what I'm going to say, I have water. I'm really comfortable in the aspect of being a medium. I'm really comfortable in the aspect of being a reverend. I don't want to stumble and do a disservice. And that's the truth, because I recognize that I haven't done my part to speak up more, to fight more, to educate myself more, to see the spiritual aspect of it. And so I'm going to do that. I'm moving forward and it's not going to stop. I don't know exactly how it's going to evolve. I've been doing a lot of really amazing readings lately. My clients and the divine universe, there is no coincidence, have happened to be, there's a lot of 5 incredible Black women that I have been able to read for, and that they all work within spiritual aspects, and I see them growing and blooming. And I even emailed one of them after a reading last night, and I was like, well, the reading wasn't last night, but I emailed her, and I was like, I am so grateful that I get to know you. And it is because I see what an incredible being she's going to be as a spiritual leader. I want everybody to know that I'm supporting them and I'm growing in the best way possible. And I also want to address my white subscribers that you can do better, and that also growing your abilities and your connections as a psychic, your clairvoyance, your clairaudience, all of that opens up too when you start to release and all of these belief systems that we've participated in. Oh, I also want to address, because Jessica said, what are they saying about 2020 and the census ascension process this time? Back in 2019, in June of 2019, I said, someone asked me about Trump being in there. I said, Trump is going to be out, but not how we want. I also mentioned, I don't know if it was in the same one. It might have been another, and I will try and find this, because it's hard to find through some of mine, because I honestly have not labeled my videos correctly. Mitch McConnell is out. I predicted Mitch McConnell will be out, that Black women will come out in huge numbers. And I specifically mentioned Alabama. So it will be interesting to me to see that. But I believe that people are going to vote in droves. And I believe that Black women are going to be really represented in the ballots, voting ballots, and they're voting this election. I also said the markets are going to be up and down for about 18 months. I'm like, I know the voting is November 3rd is very significant. The unrest isn't going to stop here, because as you start to heal and as you start to move things out, know that the fight, like when you're setting boundaries with somebody who's narcissistic, right? When you first set those boundaries, there's a lot of pushback because they want to still have their control. So you're going to see that in society, that the people who are comfortable being in power and liking their advantages are going to be pushing back. The people who don't want to move. Healing Element podcast on YouTube is greater source describing a trauma that racism causes. Oh, okay. I'm gonna find all of that, and I will link it all. Thank you for the input. So 2020 is rough, but in a weird way, it's not. I feel like it's, when people are like 2019 was hard, 2019 was hard, but I feel like 2020 is just like the last holdout before we start to make some real change. I did say that I didn't see a woman in the White House, but I think that feeling is more that a vice president's not in the White House. I'm not sure, but I feel like it'll be in 2028 when we finally see a female president. I do see reparations happening, and I can't remember. I think I said 2026 something start, but it takes a lot of time. I have to go back and look at some of these videos. I do believe change is happening, and I do believe people are ascending and growing. I don't believe in the 5D ascension. I don't believe that our whole entire planet is going to move to this other thing, because a huge part of incarnating here is having this specific existence of having the push and the pull and the negative aspect and the positive aspect and the duality of it. But we can't always live in that. Speaking of duality, like, you can't always live in like, if I experience this, then I'm bad. And if I experience this, then I'm good. And it doesn't sort of work that way. I just encourage you all to really look at yourselves, to really look at how you've participated in it, to try and step back from thinking I'm a bad person if I've allowed this. I'm a bad person if I've participated in it. And I know Basement says not unknowingly, but I didn't understand or know about. I've heard about the prison systems and how they were sort of set up, and I just didn't fully understand because I think was not fully aware of everything. Even just small aspects of it. I'm not aware of what everybody's from a racial aspect, what other people's experiences are. Now I understand and I imagine and um, but there's so much of a low level thing. Like I will give you an example. I had a friend, a woman that I used to be friends with, um, back in probably around 2007, and she was dating a guy, and they were both Black. There is reason to the story, um, and he's the nicest man. He's so incredibly nice. And she called me up, and had worked a night shift, and she said, I need to move out of this apartment. I need help packing my stuff. Will you help pack my stuff? She accused her now ex-boyfriend, of battery. She had called the cops on him. And I said, sure. I had like 2 hours of sleep or something by the time, and I said, fine, I'll get dressed and I'll come over. So I was helping her clean up. And there was just something weird about it. And one of the weirdest things I thought was I hadn't eaten. I was starving. She started cooking in front of me. And I was like, oh, I'm kind of hungry. Can I, and she's like, well, I have a Capri Sun. I was like, I guess I'll order food. It was like not, but at that moment I knew that she was lying. And this man happened to call me up a few days later, within a couple of days. And he said, Ani's my nickname. I didn't. I go, oh, I know you didn't do it. She's crazy. I mean, I knew it. I knew she had made it up. I knew like everything and his energy dropped immediately. And I just felt this sense of relief of thank God. And I didn't realize the significance of that. And I happened to, when I watched, was it Christian oh, wait, let me think. I want to make sure I have his last name right. Oh, God, forgive me. I think I remember it's Carter or Cooper. The gentleman, I can't remember Cooper. Please forgive me. Please forgive me. So Christian, the gentleman who was bird watching in Central Park recently, and the white woman, we'll call her Karen. You watched that video and you saw that she was lying. You saw that she was playing on this idea that if the Black person is violent and I'm being attacked, that she knew that it would get him in trouble. She knew it would destroy him because she was mad that he asked her to put her dog on a leash. Seeing that brought me back to my friend. And I emailed him and I said, I understand now the relief you felt and why you felt that relief because I understand now the gravity of what she did. What she did was bad enough, but I understand now the gravity of what that meant of her accusation. So I'm coming to some realizations of my own, and I'm asking you to educate yourself. Christian Cooper, God bless you. Thank you, Jess. I am asking you to educate yourselves, to continue to educate yourselves, to not be afraid to speak up, to not be afraid to ruffle feathers and do things that maybe people aren't going to like, your friends, your family, your coworkers. I'm asking you to really look at yourself and how you've taken a part of it and make a change and go out and vote these fuckers out, because we don't have time for this shit anymore. People didn't deserve to be dragged over here and sold and abused and pushed down and then told they were free with a little bit of like in the 13th Amendment, well, you're free unless you're a criminal, and then criminalizing people for loitering and putting them back into basically slavery. So, and this is continued over time in different forms and in different ways. So it's time to say, if we're love and light and one and whole, and we believe that we're all spiritual beings, if you believe in being empathetic and kind and good, then it is time to step up and help other people up and stop pushing them down and being a part of that. That's kind of what I wanted to say. So I was really afraid that I was going to be emotional, and I don't want to do that because there's a whole other thing. Look up white tears, look up the understanding of people being able to express their own, people of color being able to express their own anger. Like, look at what's going on right now. We're mad because people are tearing things apart and looting. Well, how else are they supposed to express themselves? Because being calm and patient wasn't enough. Asking for just to matter is offensive. Like, there's so many things that are wrong. So we need to be open to healing, and we need to be open to listening, and opening that conversation, and be okay with being corrected and told that we're not doing it right. Or you could be a little bit more sensitive. You could be a little more understanding. You could be more empathetic. You could be more caring. We need to be open to that and correction. It's okay to say we got it wrong. We learn from our mistakes, but we can't continue to move in this direction. I know. Exactly. That was my, you, Neil, you're doing something wrong. Like, we need to change. Hi, Sherry. Welcome back. Hi, Pastel Rainbow, the animator. So be open. Be open to realizing that you're wrong. Be open to realize you haven't been doing it right. And like I was here with Base Fan, like, you don't have to feel offended to tell me, like, give me suggestions, let me know. As long as you're not mean about it, I'm cool. I've always been open to correction and know that I have room for growth. And so I welcome everybody here. I support you guys. I want to be a better ally, because that's the only way to be, as far as I'm concerned. Does anybody have any comments, questions, or concerns? I do think I'm going to be back Sunday doing live readings. I don't think I'm going to do them at 8:30 at night. It's too hard for me to try to get everybody in bed by myself, and try and make it down here by 8:30. My husband literally can't do anything right now. For those of you that don't know me, he had spinal surgery on his neck, and he can't lift anything above 5 pounds. And he's like pretty not capable of a whole lot right now. So I'm not trying to knock him. He can't do much right now. I do think our voting system will change slightly. I think our electoral, my feeling was, and I said this a year ago now almost, our electoral college, I believe, will be out the door by 2026. It's not a religion. I'm spiritualist. I'm a reverend in the Spiritualist Church, which believes there's 9 tenets. But the major ones are that we believe in a higher power, or something larger, the universe, if you want, a divine parent. We believe that we are all connected. We believe that you can communicate with spirit after the human death, the physical incarnation is done. We believe in the golden rule, as do unto others as you would do unto yourself. And that's about it. We don't go by any books. We go by what we get from spirit. Thank you, Yasmin. Thank you, Rose. No worries. I don't mind clearing up any confusion. And I think that's really what's important for us to move forward and grow is communicate. A huge part is listening and giving the platform to people who need it. And I am super excited. So I really do want to encourage you guys to go look at this list. And I do apologize, first of all, it doesn't look that pretty right now. I want to include pictures. For some reason, the fonts are off, not the fonts, the colors of the text are off, and I think I have to go through into the actual coding and fix the coding. And I'm not a coder or a computer person, but I'm going to do my best. So it's a little frustrating for me, and it takes me a lot longer than those of you who are into computers. But I'm working on building that page to do it justice and be honorable. And it's going to be something that's evolving. So I'm going to add more practitioners as I am introduced to them. I have a few that I'm waiting to hear back from if they give me permission to put their information on there. I have asked, if you're wondering, I have asked everybody for permission. I didn't just include it without their permission. That's another thing I think we need to be respectful of, is just not assume that people want to be a part of this. So, you guys, I'm so grateful. Again, I feel like I have the best subscribers. I feel like I have such kind people here and good people. And a part of being good and kind is also being willing to grow and see where we can stretch. If anybody has any general questions about energy stuff kind of going on, any more comments, I'm open to them. I hope that my subscribers that are people of color here feel like I've done it justice. If you think I need to talk more on something or I didn't address something right, please feel free. You can email me privately. You can comment on here, whatever you feel most comfortable with. I'm open to that as well. I'd like to keep the conversation moving. I don't want it to be like, okay, I've said my one thing, now let's go back to the other thing. I don't think that that's, well, it's not how change happens. So I'm hoping that all the people that are standing up now, oh, here's another thing I want to say. Donations are great. I donated to the NAACP. I donated to a fund in Minnesota. I will post the links. Don't worry. I'm going to. It's easier to do it after, once the video posts, and go through and edit everything rather than at the beginning when you put the little description. It's good to donate, but I also think, and if you think I donated, I'm good, I helped out, you didn't. Do the work. Put the work in. It will be a better world if we all do our part. So, and it's hard to look at yourself when you're ready to change. It's hard to look at how you've participated in something, and intentionally or not, whatever you meant for the outcome to be, we've all participated. We've all allowed this to happen. We've all allowed this to remain this way. And we all need to make a really big difference. And you also need to look at how they've gone from being overtly racist, using the N-word and saying all these things like that, and keeping people from voting, to all the subtle stuff, so that when things come about again, you can spot it and stop it. It's really, I mean, honestly, you really, really, really should watch 13th on Netflix. It's, wow. It is really incredible. I think that's it. So I'm gonna, unless there's anybody who has any other questions, comments, or inquiries, something like that, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna make sure I post all my links. You guys, anything? I will be back on Sunday, but probably in the afternoon. So look for me in the afternoon. If you're new here, welcome. If you've been here, God bless you. And, you know, I'm not usually saying God bless you, but I really do appreciate your supporting me, hanging in there with me. And I miss you too, Jess. The world's changing. And I want to say, even spiritual people are sending out crap. I got something from somebody, some Alex Jones video. I was like, oh, you're fucking kidding me. Like, even spiritual people are racist and supporting people like Trump. Oh yes, KK, sorry. I will be on, I kind of want to, I'll email you, because I'm thinking between 1 and 3, but I'm not sure. I sort of just want to see how stuff lines up. But I will email you, KK, for sure. Um, all right, everybody. Thank you again for being here. I appreciate your support. I appreciate your time. Let's not love and light the world. Let's actually make some real changes. It's good to put that energy out there and say it, but you really need to like look at with yourself. And I hope if this has opened one person's eyes up and made a change, then I'm happy, because I know then that maybe they'll spread the word and start educating other people. And I know I still have a ton to learn. I'll spread the word and start educating other people. And I know I still have a ton to learn, and I'm excited to learn. I haven't read this much in a long time, and that's embarrassing to admit. 3 kids, it's actually been really hard even to read this much and spend some time on this. I'm doing what I can. I'm carving out whatever time I can. Also, if you're worried about, like, there's all these lists of books out there. If you're like, financially it might be hard. I know my town has an e-library. I downloaded an app from, and I can check out books through the e-library. Taxes pay for that, so use it. And I'm connecting the links, I promise, Spaceman. All right, y'all. Have a wonderful afternoon. Decide to put yourself out there and make a change. I hope you're doing well. I will see you Sunday. Thank you again for the support. Again, I'm AnaLisa with myspiritualfriend.com. You can find me at myspiritualfriend.com. This is My Spiritual Friend. I'm on and Twitter as well. All those links are included. Thank you again for supporting me.